Well, today I wanted to talk about the next step I took in making this bronze plane. And some of the steps I wanted to go through today was, where do you start? And maybe you're a person who's never done any casting before and don't know where to start and don't know if you've got the technology. So I'll go through some pretty simple steps that I took and cost-effective steps. So I don't know where you're at and what your skill levels are. So let's start today talking about the boxes. These are the boxes I made, and they're only out of a bit of 90 by 20 mil pine. Very, very simple. I just put them all together, put a groove in here, and the idea of that groove is to hold the sand in and not fall out. I've made it that size there so I can take this center partition here out. The center partition there, I can take that out if I want to do bigger ones. But I made my dowel pins. I made metal ones because they're pretty easy for me to do. And so that end there was a hole that it fits in, and the other end is, as you can see, is slotted, and so that gets it lined up this way, and the other pin lines it up this way here. And so that's that's what I made. I made them out of wood. You can see here's burnt away a little bit, and I probably need to make metal ones up the track if I'm going to do a lot of casting. But honestly, I probably won't do a lot of casting. If I did, I probably would make metal ones or aluminium ones. Now, yes, they might say, "Oh, Dan, I can't weld and things like that." Well, you could have easily make your sides like this, and so just make it on an angle like that. That'll line you up, and this here will line you up this way. The bottom being your drag, that's the bottom. And I always put an arrow on it, because when I'm doing the cut, putting the pattern in and putting the sand in, that goes to the bottom, and so that when you roll it over, it's going to match up with the coat on the top. And so that's the boxes. And so look, it's a little bit like going to the gym. You know, you meet some people at the gym and they've got all the flash gear and all the flash weights and everything like that, but at the end of the day, what do you want to do? You want to build muscle. So as long as you're building weight, and here you might say, well, as long as I can just do a cost-effective way of having a bit of fun and not spending a lot of money. And so that's your molding boxes. You might say, well, Dan, how big do I need to make it? Well, it really does depend upon the size of what you want to cast. And so this here is what I cast in here, and you can see there's plenty of room there for that. Now I widened this because I made 2 up at a time, because I decided to make 4 of them, and so I cast 2 at a time. And so they haven't got to be big. You just need a little bit of room for sand on the side. You might put it like that, and maybe have 20 mil sand between there and the box. And so that's your boxes. They're only very, very simply made, and as long as you may not be really accurate, as long as you get these pins right, they will line you up every time. So that's the first thing that you look at when you're making the boxes or the mold. And the second thing then is to look at is sand. Now what I do is I just went and got some play sand from down the hardware store, kids play sand, and got a bag of that. Not very dear if you're in Australia, just from Bunnings, play sand from Bunnings. It's already fine sand. You haven't got to go sieving it to get the fines out of the roughs. But yeah, and it's a rough sand, not a round sand, so it hangs on good. And then bentonite clay. Now all I did was go to the local grocery store and just bought some kitty litter, bentonite. Have a look at it because there's a lot of different types of kitty litter you can get. But I just got kitty litter and looked on it and had bentonite clay in there. And they say the ratio is 10:1. Well, you know, it's a bit like making a cake or mixing concrete. You know, sometimes you get hungry stuff, and so really it's a matter of just trying it and see how it works. And of course, then you've got to mix water with it, and how much water you put in it, honestly, is trial and error as you go. You got to be able to grab it. It's got to be able to hold together, and it's got to be able to break and hold itself. But you don't want it too grainy either. So I started off with 10% bentonite clay, but then I ended up with about 20, not 25%, about 20% to get really the consistency I wanted. And you want to be able to sieve it. And so I got this sieve here, and so it's about 50 thou sieve, and that's just I think it's a cooking sieve, but I just got that from the cheap shop, and I sieve it through there, because once you do your casting once, you'll have lumps and burnt bits, and so you want to sieve all of that out. And so as long as you can sieve it through there, it just means that when you're making up your molds, this one here, you can see it's all, you want to be able to get into those little bits there, and so you want it to be able to hold together once you pack it in there, and you want it to get in there and give you a nice finish. The last thing you want is a rough finish on your casting, and you're going to get that anyway. This is one of the ones that I cast, and that's the finish that I got here, and so it's all pretty good. You know, that's the finish that I got on it. And so look, honestly, it's trial and error. The thing is, when you're doing this sort of thing, you've got to do it to have fun. You've got to do it to enjoy yourself, and you've got to be prepared that, look, this is a new thing I'm learning. I'm going to make lots of mistakes, and you know, there's times when I've poured it and I've looked at it and said, no, that's not good enough, and I've remelted it and given it another go. There's times when I've made up the mold in the boxes, and I looked at the mold and it's fallen away, and so you know, I've had to redo it. And so it's trial and error. Just don't think that you're going to pick up something new and you're going to get it the first time. What you also look, and this is cheap and easy, and if you're a professional, you know, you're probably not going to watch this video anyway, but this is what I use to put on the pattern. When I put it in, I put that all over the pattern so that the sand doesn't stick to the pattern. And so that's what I use. I just sprinkle that on, or I've put it in an old sock and just do it like that, and you get the powder on it, and it's just easy. You know, it's not expensive. You're not looking at spending $1 million on a hobby. If you've got that to spend, well, you're probably not doing it anyway. A little bit of melanite shelving, and you sit your boxes on that and everything, because it's got a nice finish on it, and it comes out a lot easier, and it finishes off good. So that's with the sand and everything. And so with your sand, trial and error, just trial and error. Make one up, throw it out. I don't know how many times I had to go before I got it. Some of the tools that you're going to need, and you need some of these. Now, these are little trowels that you work with. Now, I went to the cheap shop and just got some, yeah, what are they? Just from the cheap shop, and you need them for when you're working your sand and cutting things out. So you can buy these in little packs. They're only a few bucks, so you can buy those, and they really are a must. I use those all the time. Need a little paintbrush. Softer the thing, the better. I use a 2-foot rule or 600mm rule just to scrape the sand off the top. Also, I've got this old file, and it's got this rubber, and that's what I use for a packer. Honestly, I've seen them on YouTube, and they got the flashes, bits of gear, and that's good, that's great, and that works, and everything like that. But you know what, I find this works just as good. And then for the final packing, just a piece of board, probably a bit bigger than that, probably the size of this here, probably 2B1, and just use that for your final packing. And so they're your tools. You know, it hasn't got to be an expensive hobby, and away you go, and just give it a go. Put your pattern in, and pack it in and pull it out. Also, if you've got a little compressor is good. If you don't, just something that can just squeeze air in, because you do get little bits of sand that get in like when you cast that and put that in. It's when you turn it up, little bits of sand can fall in, and what will happen, it'll show up on your casting. And so you want to be able to blow those bits out. And so if you get a compressor, just really little, not very high pressure on it, but you know, when I first started, I just blew it out with my mouth, and that was enough just to move the sand out of all the crevices, so that you can make sure that you get all the sand out. Also, just something that you can put in to make your inlet to pour your metal in, something like a piece of polythene pipe like that, or I've made this one up, and it's a tapered sprue. I'll probably make one a little bit bigger diameter. If you're doing brass, you're doing aluminium bronze, sorry, you might need a little bit bigger. And so they're pretty well the tools that you need to be able to start having a go at molding. But the big thing is if you're going to do this sort of thing, you've got to enjoy it. It's not to cost you a fortune to do. And enjoy what you're doing, and be prepared. You know what, I'm learning something new, I'm learning a new skill, and this might take me 3 or 4 goes. I think in some cases I've had 5 or 6 goes, and you know, you get cranky, but you know what, just give it another go, and after a while you perfect it. And I'm sure on YouTube you'll go there and you'll see old Foundry Men and all those guys. Mate, they're up the track to a lot of us guys. We're starting off, we're learning, and we're learning as we go. So give yourself a go, but have fun, have a lot of fun, and don't think you've got to spend a lot of money. Thanks.